Today we're diving into a topic I have personally struggled with: negative self-beliefs. You know, life has ups and downs, but let's have an honest conversation about the 5 toxic beliefs that kept me and probably keeping you miserable. So, let's begin. The first thing I believed is that failure is something bad. To give you a clear example, one time I've been asked to speak about my self-improvement journey on my previous school. And that was also the first time I spoke for the first time in English to a big group of people. Before I went to that event, I thought that I had been prepared well. But when the interviewer asked me a question, I got a total blackout. I couldn't even speak English anymore. And all those 50 people had all their eyes on me. But on that moment, I felt like a fucking loser. I was thinking that I was really a failure. And the question I asked myself was, how could that happen after I was prepared pretty well? And when I was thinking about it, it wasn't even a failure. It wasn't even a mistake. It was a part of my learning process. The reality was that a failure was something that should happen. And that is also what fail means. First attempt in learning. So what really made a difference for me was that I learned from that moment. And on the next time the same person asked me again to speak on my school again, I said just yes, I will do that. I wasn't scared about the failure in my head, which happened before, you know. And even when I'm going to fail again, it's not a problem because it's part of the process. And then the opposite happened. The workshop went really good. My English went well, I didn't have to black out. Everything was just fine. Because I learned from that moment. Failure is the place where you can really see where you can improve in yourself. So you should remember that success is not final and failure is not fatal. For a long period of my life, I believed that expressing my emotions was something weak. So to give you an example, when I was around friends and we went to a party or something, when someone was saying to me like, "Ronald, how are you doing?" I was always saying, "I'm fine." And then even on the moments when I didn't felt fine, I still said that automatic reaction because I was scared that people will laugh about it. Because in my head, I had to believe that men should not cry. And maybe that's also because I experienced that from my father itself. He was also not really showing his emotions. So I didn't really have the background to, get that good role model who said to me like, "Ronald, it's fine when you're having emotions. Just let it go." But expressing your emotions doesn't make you weak, it's making you strong. Because a part of emotional intelligence is being aware of your own emotions. And you can do different things for that. You can accept it and say to yourself like, emotions is something what all humans have, so I'm just letting it go. Or you can also be aware about the situation. I'm aware that I'm feeling sad, but if you really dare to come out for the person who you really are, that is also the person who sometimes have to cry. That is also the person who can smile. That's also the person who can laugh, That's part of you. That's who you are. So, not showing your emotion is not showing you. Makes sense, right? So the next time when I'm around friends and they ask if I'm fine and I don't feel fine, I will say to them, I have learned from that toxic belief. So expressing your emotions is something good, but when you're having negative emotions and you handle out of that emotion, it's not the best to do. The other thing I used to believe in was that I should do what everyone else is doing. And maybe you recognize this from the advice of your parents, because my father did the same with me. He literally said to me like, do your best on school, get your bachelor and get a good job, because that is going to give you comfort. And I know it was not his intention that I got that toxic belief about it, but this is why many people are not living the life they want to live. Everyone should focus on what they want to do, not what society is telling you. And society can also be your friends or something, because I had the same. So a friend literally said to me, like, there are already so many creators out there, so it's gonna be very difficult for you. And on that moment, I lost all my motivation. All my motivation to focus on the things I actually wanted to do. And that people want to get the best for you, I know, but it's also something which can hold you back. And you cannot blame them, but get a responsibility for yourself when you're doing things which are not aligned with you, which are not the things you want to do. But With the last 100 years, there has changed so much. These days you can earn money with almost everything, if you have the right mindset for that. And I believe if you really have the desire that you want to do something and you're going to make sacrifices for it, you will achieve that goal. Focus on what you want instead of all the friends are telling you that you shouldn't do it. So the next thing I used to believe in was that everything I do must be done perfectly. So the first video I made on my channel was my introduction video. And that is a clear example about how my perfectionism got the overhand in that situation. So to give you a clear example, I asked one of my friends to make cinematic shots of me, to help me with filming, to help me with editing. And the editing itself took 24 hours. And on that moment I also filmed myself over and over again till it was perfect. I put so much pressure on myself that the moment I published the video, I just turned off my computer, turned off my social media, and I just went for a walk for an hour or something. Because I was so scared about what other people thought about that I was making a video on YouTube. I was so scared about the external validation on that moment. And I saw it like this: when it's not perfect, I have failed as a person. So the performance of making it perfect was connected to my low self-image, and that had a negative effect on my mental health, which was the opposite I wanted to achieve with making that introduction video. So finally, when I was writing down those thoughts I had on that moment, I came to the conclusion that making things done is more important than making it perfect. And to give you a more clear example, this month I'm going to publish 10 videos. And what I'm doing right now is, when I'm thinking it's 70% perfect, I'm just publishing it. So focus on doing instead of making it perfect. The last thing I used to believe was that I had no control over my life. So when I'm going to my teenage years, I let my life depend on external factors. And on that period, I was quite depressed because I didn't understand myself. I didn't know how I felt. I didn't really have the support around me which I thought I needed on that moment. And on that moment, I sometimes also had to believe that I hate my life. And I have a shit life, and I cannot really do anything about it. It's fixed, it's the reality, I have to accept it. But when I felt shit, I always blamed others but never myself. When I've got bad grades in school, it was my parents' fault. When I felt lonely, it was my parents' fault. So that was the mindset and the toxic beliefs I had on that moment. But that you don't have control over your life is bullshit. The greatest obstacle for positively change is not external factors. It's the internal resistance to change. Your toxic belief, your emotions, these things are internal. These are things you can internally change. When you're not happy in your body, you can blame everyone else and talking bullshit about them, but if you don't change, you will not get that muscular body. That's how it works. For me right now, my financial situation is also not the best. Right now, all my friends has a better financial stability than me. So, am I going to blame them that I have a shit financial situation? If you are not taking the responsibility to take that change, nothing will happen. And if you're looking at the most successful people, success depends on 10% of external factors, 90% of internal. So focus on the 90% instead. But yeah, you need to have a growth mindset for that. You have to make the choice to change yourself. I did it as well. I'm already now almost 8 years in self-improvement. I'm reading books I'm interested in. I'm trying to improve myself in my YouTube videos. I'm trying to learn from others as well. I'm trying to be around the right people. These are things I internally change. So to sum up this video, failure is not something bad. It's actually something good to make improvement. Rather focusing on doing instead of making it perfect. Focus on the things you want to do and not what society is saying to you. Expressing your emotions is not something weak, it's actually something very powerful. You have the control over your life. Focus on the 90% of the internal factors instead of the 10% external factors. So this was the video of this week. Which are the toxic beliefs you may be having right now? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night, evening, day, and I hope to see you soon. Ciao!